otherwise would have been. And I hope to take the lessons from El Paso, the lessons from the center here today, to apply that to this country, which is as divided as it has ever been. A president who operates on intolerance and hatred and division, not unrelated to the fact that hate crimes are on the rise each one of the last 3 years in this country. His rhetoric does not just offend our ears or our sensibilities, it fundamentally changes who this country is, our practices, our policies, the way that we act towards one another. So on this day where we celebrate this year, 50 years since Stonewall, heroic leadership right here in this city, we are also commemorating today the 3rd anniversary of the Pulse nightclub shooting. 49 of our fellow Americans, human beings, murdered in an act of hatred and intolerance and homophobia. Though we are celebrating marriage equality in this country and the progress that has been gained through your sacrifice and your struggle and your commitment, in our home state of Texas, you can still be fired based on your sexual orientation. In our home state of Texas, though there are 30,000 kids in the foster care system who want to be in a loving home, you can still be too gay to be able to adopt one of them. In Texas and in many other states, it's a legal defense in a court of law to kill somebody if they came onto you and they were the same gender that you are. The way that we've institutionalized and legalized hatred in this country has led to the devastation that we are seeing throughout our communities. Martin mentioned the attack on transgender Americans, especially transgender women of color, with complete impunity in this country. Just in Dallas, Texas, one city in one state in this country, you saw the murder of Chanel Lindsay and Malaysia Booker, 2 trans women of color who help us to understand a trend that we are seeing in this country. How do we face this challenge? We look to the leadership of those here in this room and beyond these walls to make sure that we respect the full human rights and human dignity of every single American. Here's how we propose to do this. On day 1 of our administration, we turn back the transgender troop ban and welcome the service of any American who wants to put their life on the line for this country. We will only nominate judicial nominees to benches, including the highest in the land, who can guarantee the full civil rights of every single American. We make sure that our Department of Justice and the Civil Rights Division pursues those attacks against transgender Americans where the local police force, sheriff's office, DA is either incapable or unwilling or not resourced enough to be able to do that. Let's ensure that that becomes a federal priority for this country. And then we will use the full weight of the federal government to end conversion therapy practices in any part of this country that are targeted at LGBTQ youth in America today. I'll also work with Congress to make sure that we pass and I sign into law the Equality Act so that the civil rights of every single American are guaranteed. We will follow that up by making sure that health care is not a function of luck or circumstance or privilege or fate, but is a guaranteed human right for every single American. Primary health care, mental health care, for women, their ability to make their own decisions about their own body, having access to the health care that allows them to do that, and making sure that PrEP is available to every single person who wishes to take it without fear of income or access based on their resources. This is life-saving medication and should not be a profit center for pharmaceutical corporations. It should be a life-saving drug extended to every American who wants to take it. Lastly, I really want this country to once again distinguish itself on the world stage. At a time that we've turned our backs on the democracies of the world, embraced strongmen and dictators, whether it's Vladimir Putin or Mohammed bin Salman in Saudi Arabia, Duterte, al-Sisi, Erdogan, I want to make sure that not only do we send the signal to the rest of the world that democracy, not autocracy, is the future. Not only do I want to make sure that we are there for those kids in Central America who have to make a 2,000-mile journey to come to this country, reduce violence in their home countries so they never have to make that journey in the first place. Not only do I want to make sure that we confront climate change with the 10 years that we have left to free ourselves from a dependence on fossil fuels, doing everything we can here at home, and then leading globally to make sure that the planet does their part as well. I want to make sure that we secure a global treaty to protect the rights of LGBTQ human beings across this planet. We should be able to extend the moral authority, if we can set the example here at home, to make sure that every single country respects the rights of every single one of its citizens. And then lastly, when those refugees and asylum seekers do show up at our front door, at the US-Mexico border, I want to make sure that members of the LGBTQ community are not imprisoned, are not in detention, are able to use a family case management program to be able to live free from any fear of persecution or violence. We lost the lives of 2 transgender asylum seekers in our custody just this year. I want to make sure that we understand that that is a very vulnerable community. After having fled 2,000 miles, not a dime in their pocket, strangers in a strange land, they should not face violence in detention. And as president, I will make sure that we protect them. Those are the outlines of the today. Would love to have a chance to get your input and hear what's on your mind, what you think we can do to add to what I've already outlined here today, questions about some of the things I've said, and then on other issues that we haven't raised, would love to hear your thoughts as well. So thank you for having us out, and Cynthia, will you?
There's also bagels, so just want
Yes.
to make sure.
We should have led with that. There are also bagels here on the